Hey guys. So I've been thinking about this a bit lately, especially since something came up in one of our Telegram chat group regarding the idea of sucking when it comes to wrestling, getting smashed, having people who are bigger than you or better than you smash you, and using that kind of as an excuse to not start, right? And the truth of the matter is that I went up against this white belt at the start of this year, who was 6'4", probably 250 pounds, and not in the best shape. And the thing about that is that I would almost rather go up against a bodybuilder of that size than I would somebody who's a little bit out of shape at that size, but is generally healthy, probably does some cardio or whatever. And the reason for that is that the bodybuilder is going to have the muscle's going to burn through energy a lot faster than fat is, and so they're going to get gassed really fast. And it makes it actually kind of easier, and there's also some ego there that I can fuck with, whereas somebody who is a little bit out of shape, they are going to actually have less of an ego and be more cautious about how they roll. And so this person, despite being very brand spanking new, was a real pain in the ass to roll with in a good way, because he was so big and because he was trying to do everything right all the time and not just assuming that his muscle was going to do the work for him, right? And so he was actually a very hard person to roll with in a good way. Now, the thing is that for you little guys, and this is who I'm kind of making this video for, but at the same time, I think this applies across the whole spectrum, is that when you're beginning and you're starting out or you're smaller, you're going to get smashed. People are going to get on top of you. They're going to smash you down. They're going to submit you all the time, and it's not going to be particularly fun in your first year of training. And that's a good thing, right? If you are like this white belt who has all that weight and size that he can use against him, he's not going to have the greatest experience with losing, right? And, in order for you to get better, you have to have things not work. You have to have things that you have to be technical to get past it, right? And I've mentioned this several times, but my coach is jet size. He's about 130 pounds. I'm 175 at the moment, and he's a good 6 inches shorter than me, and I can't do jack shit with him. And it's because he's smaller. And one of the things that I noticed when I was training out in Maine, and my coach out there was probably about 230 pounds and about my height, is that he had a notably lower technical understanding than my Seattle coach does. And it's because in order for him to be able to do well all of the time, he doesn't have to rely on technique nearly as much as a light person does. So, if I could say anything to somebody who's feeling frustrated because they're smaller or because they're newer or whatever, is that try to be objective at all times, right? And I tell this to Jet all the time, and I think that's a very good habit to get into, is every time that you start rolling, have a specific goal in mind as far as what you want to get to, and start the bar very low. Okay, so we are getting into this starting position here, and my one goal is to get the side control today. That's it. Okay, I'm going to go from this combat base or being inside of somebody's open guard position to getting the side control. That's all I'm going to do in this round. And if I successfully do that, okay, once I get to side control, I'm going to successfully transition to scarf hold or reverse switch base or whatever. So I'm going to transition to knee right. And that's going to be my goal. Okay, I've succeeded in doing that. Now what? Well, now we're going to transition to a submission maybe. Maybe I'm going to try to get that far side armbar from the knee right position on the next roll. And that's it. That's one of the ways that you progress, is that you start with these little tiny goals, and if they don't get there, that's fine. That's great, actually, because you have this mental goal of, I'm going to get to this, but you got shut down. Why did you get shut down? Okay, my goal in the second round is still going to be to get to this position, but I'm going to think about what shut me down. Okay, maybe I got swept when I was trying to pass the guard. Okay, why did I get swept? And was I not rooted properly in the floor? Did I not staple down my partner's leg well enough? Did I not maintain connection? Did I end up in half guard? What happened that stopped you from being able to get to side control? And start to pick through it. Now, your opponent's game is going to change, probably, especially if they aren't, they've got their own goals of what they're going to be trying to get to and what they're going to try to do. But if you were thinking, okay, I'm going to get to this position, or if you're a little guy, especially, you're probably going to end up having somebody on top of you, okay? And one of the best things that I think for a little guy to do when it comes to, getting stuck on the bottom is really learning how to be squirrely, because little guys tend to be able to be squirrely. You shrimp better than a bigger guy does. You're going to be able to move quicker and smoother than a big guy is. You have less weight. And so use that squirreliness to make sure that nobody ever pins you down, right? If nobody can ever get on top of you, then you have taken out like 90% of the problem of being a little guy, right? So start thinking about that. See where you're getting stuck and problem solve through it and figure out what advantages you have, because as a little guy, you are going to have certain challenges that big guys are not going to have, and that's going to force you to become more technical. And in my opinion, little guys who get good are so much better than big guys who get good, right? Because a big guy doesn't have to deal with the same bullshit. So embrace that bullshit, embrace the struggle, and then think of it methodically and work through each problem individually, making a goal for yourself. Maybe it's in a week, maybe it's in a month, that, okay, this month I'm going to really, really learn how to escape from side control every single time. I want to never get stuck in side control. My coach specifically doesn't like to get stuck in even my guard at my level. He doesn't like to get stuck in anybody's guard if he can help it, because he's a little guy, and little guys have a harder time getting out of guard. And so he will do everything he can to not get into guard in the first place. And so when I actually have gotten him in guard like twice in my entire jiu-jitsu career, he was very hard to keep in guard because he knew that he just didn't want to be there. So that's one of the things I can say to you that I think is going to be very helpful for you, is that learn where you don't want to be as a smaller person when it comes to wrestling, and do everything that you can not to get into those positions, and then start learning, because you're going to have similar challenges when you get on top, right? A smaller person is a whole lot easier to roll when they're on top in side control, right? Because I have more size and strength to roll you when you're smaller. So you have to maybe extend the head side leg when you're in side control to root your hips further into the ground so that I can't roll you, right? You might need to have better wedge systems than I need to have. With Jet, I am bigger, so I don't have to necessarily ever straighten out my legs to prevent from getting rolled. You need to be more mindful of where your posts are, what your connection is, where's your pressure, how are you rooted. All those things you have to be a lot more focused on in order to be more successful consistently. So that's what I have for you guys. If you are smaller, embrace the challenge. Embrace the challenge, rise to it, and that's going to make you so much better than any big guy. And so for you big guys who are watching this video going, this video is not for me, I have a wake-up call for you. It totally is, okay? There's always going to be somebody who's bigger than you. There's always going to be somebody who is faster than you. There's always going to be somebody who's more technical than you. And so, you're going to come up to the same problems eventually, even if you're not seeing them right now, right? So when you start rolling against people who are so much better, you're going to start having to deal with the things that these white belt little guys are having to deal with from the very beginning that maybe you didn't have to struggle with yet. And so I would say that if you're a big guy, try to roll as if you're a little one, right? Try to do the things that the little guys have to do because that's going to make you better. Try to get into bad positions. If you have a tendency not to get in bad positions right now because you just have more weight to move around and people are having a hard time sweeping you, you're able to root in better, you're not ending up on the bottom as much, let yourself get to the bottom, okay? Let yourself get stuck in side control. And the reason why I say this is because eventually you're going to reach a level of people that you are going to be rolling against who are at a level where they can get you in that position, and suddenly you've got nothing in your toolbox. You haven't dealt with that as much. So put yourself in that position so that you can learn how to deal with it. So, we like to think of when we wrestle and when we practice and all that we want to get to the best positions all the time, but I think it's almost more beneficial for you to get to bad positions, for you to spend time there and learn how to get out of those positions. Let yourself get swept. And then once people start thinking that they can sweep you that way, start trying to figure out ways that you can start defending that, technically speaking, rather than just with your weight, with your mass. So that's what I have for you guys for right now. Pick it apart. Try to really, really embrace being uncomfortable. Embrace losing. Because that is where growth is, where you're most primed to grow. If you're winning all the time, you're not necessarily growing all the time. You're just working the systems and the moves that work for you, but you're not expanding your palette and you're not preparing yourself to be in those bad situations. So get to those bad situations. Let yourself get, so that somebody set up a far side armbar for you, totally just give that, when they get to knee right, give them that keyhole, okay? And let them spin around and start, once you feel them grab that tricep to pull you up on your side, start really, really working to getting your elbow down to the ground before they can even spin around all the way, right? Try to get very active with covering that arm if you can. Do everything that you can to make it so that your brain recognizes, okay, that bad thing is coming, and now I can adapt to it. So, embrace being bad. Embrace losing. Accept the fact that you're going to get smashed, okay? Regardless of who you are. Even if that's not something that's going to naturally happen to you, make it happen to you now. Because when you are here and you are learning and you're trying to develop, even if it's not happening to you now, it will happen to you eventually. And so you need to be prepared for that. So that's what I got. You guys have a lovely day. Happy New Year if I don't see you again before then. And I'll see you next time.